The Michael Bear Carson and Susan Carson story reads like a movie script. Drugs, violent murder, car chases, and a gun left behind in a police car. Even for serial killers, this story is unusual. James Carson, first wife, fled from the daughter, was 5 years old because he was acting very strangely. Soon after, he met Susan Carson at a party. Their meeting was later described as a match meeting dynamic. Both came from average backgrounds and had stable, happy childhoods. No one could have foreseen what the union would produce. Not perturbed by his first wife leaving, Michael Bear soon divorced her. Susan Barnes divorced too, although she had 2 teenage sons. Carson wrote a letter to his daughter saying that God wanted him to change his name to Michael Bear. Susan became Susan Bear. At first, they hitchhiked around Europe, but they came back to the US after about a year. Both immersed themselves in the hippie culture of the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco. "I am a yogi, a mystic, and a Muslim warrior," Susan said. The pair believed that witchcraft, homosexuality, and abortion was excellent reasons to kill. It's for our own protection and for the sake of our country's future. They used drugs and believed that a nuclear apocalypse was near. By this point, Michael's ex-wife feared that he might harm her or their child, and had taken steps to hide their location from him. Susan and Michael wrote a manifesto together and called it A Cry for War. In it, they made a list of demons to be obliterated, Margaret Thatcher and Charles Manson amongst them. They committed their first murder in March 1981. While they were walking outside during a rainstorm, Susan heard a voice ordering her to kill their roommate, Karen Barnes. Every time she said it to Michael, thunder would clap, confirming the message from a higher power. Susan believed Karen was a witch and was stealing her mystical powers. Karen, who was no relation to Susan, was an aspiring actress from Georgia. When they got home, they killed Karen, hitting her over the head with a frying pan and crushing her skull. But that wasn't enough for them. They stabbed her 13 times, wrapped her in a blanket, and hid her in the basement. The Carsons became prime suspects when police believed that Karen was killed by someone she knew. But the Carsons fled before the body was found. After hiding in the mountains of Oregon, Michael and Susan Bear Carson next showed up at a marijuana farm in Northern California in 1982. Other workers on the farm said the Carsons were anarchists who predicted revolution and nuclear apocalypse. A new demon awaited them. Michael accused Clark Stevens, a fellow farmhand, of abusing Susan and shot him twice in the head. Michael attempted to burn the body and hide the remains under chicken fertilizer in the woods, where they would soon be found by police. They quickly became suspects, but Michael and Susan were gone again. A murder wish list was found by police amongst their belongings. Murdering Johnny Carson and Ronald Reagan now featured prominently in their plans. Authorities were unable to track down the Carsons. They drifted. At one point, they even lived in a treehouse, but were very soon evicted. In fact, they were evicted for almost everywhere they lived. Their drug-fueled and bizarre behaviour was hard to tolerate. But now the manhunt was on. Michael was spotted hitchhiking by an acquaintance in November 1982. He was picked up, but let go after a police slip-up. The police didn't even have a chance to interview him. He left address details and a gun behind in a police car, but vanished. It all came to a dramatic end in March 1983. John Charles Hellyer picked up the hitchhiking bears after more than 300 miles together. Susan declared Hellyer a witch. He has to die. Hellyer stopped the car, supposedly to let the pair out. A fight erupted in full view of the Californian 101 freeway traffic. Susan stabbed Hellyer and Michael shot him. A passerby called the police and, after a high-speed chase, the bears were arrested. They called a press conference to confess to the murder, claiming that the Muslim Quran was the basis for their actions. Just before their trial, however, they took it all back and pled not guilty. But justice prevailed, and the San Francisco witch killers were sentenced to 75 years to life in prison for the 3 murders. Michael and Susan Bear Carson most probably committed many more murders in the United States and in Europe, but there was no evidence for more trials. In an interview with the San Francisco Chronicle, the Carsons claimed to be pacifist, vegetarian yoga practitioners who had converted to Islam. Their crimes were part of a mission to exterminate individuals they believed were witches. They killed Karen Barnes because she made a false conversion and was draining Miss Carson of her health and yogic powers. The press then dubbed them the San Francisco Witch Killers. They also claimed that Stevens had sexually assaulted Susan and that Hellyer called her a witch and abused her, justifying those murders as well. They show no remorse for their crimes today. In 2015, after more than 30 years behind bars, both of them came up for parole. Prisons were overcrowded, so many prisoners over 65 were being released. True to their form, Michael cancelled his parole hearing himself, while Susan refused to help her attorney prepare her case. "We did what we had to, and we are not sorry. I will not renounce my beliefs," Michael Carson said. Jen Carson, the daughter of Michael Bear, visited him in prison when she was just 19 years old, when he had been behind bars for more than a decade. "His eyes are dead," she said. "It is as if he has no soul. He is pure evil." Today, Jen is an advocate for the families of victims of violent murder. "I will never support my dad or what he did. He is Susan, are still dangerous and should never be released."